Hello everyone, this is Mo. I'm making a quick video to show the differences between rough-legged hawk wings and red-tailed hawk wings. So the two species are very similar, and sometimes it's easy to distinguish them by the tail, sometimes it's not. And for the purpose of the BCIT wildlife course lab exam, we need to look at the wings. So why wings are important? Because if you look at red-tailed hawk, the name red-tailed hawk um, is because most of them have orange tails. So, but some of them don't have that saturation in the color orange or red, and some of them don't even have that color. So sometimes you see a red-tailed hawk in the field and you wonder if that's a red-tailed hawk or something else. And looking at the wing can help you identify it better. So now, the first thing we have to pay attention is are we looking at a Western red-tailed hawk or a different one? Because the Western red-tailed hawks have these light color wings, but those that aren't Western have super dark coverts. So if you look at the covert area on this one, for example, we see that the marginal covert is dark. So there's a dark marginal covert. So that's the most important thing with the Western red-tailed hawks. And that's the main thing you have to say in your lab exam. If it was a question, you have to mention that red-tailed hawk has dark marginal coverts. And the rest of the covert is, I'm going to use a different color. So the rest of it is light. So the primary coverts are light and the secondaries. So that's the main thing. We also have some darker spots on the primary coverts tips. So the tip of the feathers they have these dark spots, and it's not very helpful to distinguish this bird by those spots in the field, because you're most likely not be able to see that with your binos. So you have to take a picture and zoom into the picture and see those spots. But that is a distinguishable feature and you can mention it. But it doesn't win over the marginal covert, which is the main thing. And if you look at this one, we have dark marginal covert, and the rest of it is just light colors. So primary covert light, secondary coverts are light. And of course, the tip of the primary coverts and some of these secondary coverts are dark, but the main difference was the marginal covert. That's what you have to remember. So we see the same thing here. The marginal covert is darker. The rest of the covert area is light. Now, thing is, you have to only remember the covert area. The rest of the tail, the rest of the wing is not really that important because it looks very similar to the rough-legged hawk. So if you look at the primary feathers and the secondary feathers and you compare it to a rough-legged hawk, they're all light color and they have dark tips. So The primary feathers and secondary feathers are not something we can mention as a distinguishable feature. Now, there's an issue with the red-tailed hawk. Some of them have super dark covert area. So the marginal covert is darker. However, the rest of the covert is also dark. Now, it's not as dark as the marginal covert, but it's still dark. And we can't really decide um, if it's a red-tailed hawk or not based on the covert with this species. So for BCIT, the lab exam, we have to just remember these guys because these are the Western red-tailed hawks, and that's important uh, for dogs class. So now the rough-legged hawk has very distinguishable wings. They have very special colors. So if you look at all these different pictures, they all have something in common. They all have super dark primary coverts. And we can see them here again. Now, that's the main thing. The main thing is the primary covert area is dark in the rough-legged hawk, but the marginal covert area is dark in the red-tailed hawk. And if we compare the same parts of the tail, the same parts of the wing, the marginal covert in rough-legged hawk is light color. So it's basically the same color as the rest of the secondary covert. So it's light, but in some morphs, there is some uh, dark colors, but it's not just the marginal covert. It goes from the marginal covert, which is like here, and then it continues into the secondary coverts. So it's not like the red-tailed hawk when the darkness stops after the marginal covert, and when you enter the secondary covert territory, it's not dark anymore. But in a rough-legged hawk, if there are dark feathers in the secondary and marginal covert, it doesn't stop after the marginal covert. It goes to the secondaries. So also, if they have darker morphs, like rough-legged hawks with super dark coverts, we can still see that the same thing that we noticed here. It's not a narrow strip of dark color. It's, it's wider than the red-tailed hawk. So those are two differences, but the main difference you have to mention is the primary coverts are dark. And some call these carpal patch, some call them wrist. Um, I'm not sure which one you're gonna remember better. Um, I think it's better to go with coverts, easy. Um, so you can technically remember it like this. You can say the marginal is here and the secondary covert is connected to the marginal, and the primary covert is also connected to that marginal covert. And this part, maybe I can zoom in more. Then this part is called alula or something. No, that's an A. Yep. But yeah, all you have to say is that the red-tailed hawk has darker marginal coverts and the rest of the covert is light. The rough-legged hawk has darker primary coverts or darker carpal patches or darker wrists. So carpal patches. And yeah, those are the main things you have to mention. And if you want to mention more than those two darker areas of the wing, um, you can do so. But I think if you just mention the main ones, you're gonna get the mark. All right. I wish you guys luck on your lab exam, and I hope this video helped you. Thank you.